إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الكلام كلام الله، وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. وبعد. We discussed, أيها الإخوة, in that which has passed, something from the ahkam of bay', something from the rulings related to buying and selling. And we mentioned in our previous discussion that which is connected to the fact that from the asnaf, or the forms of trade, are those forms of trade that are made haram. They are made haram, أيها الإخوة, because of great dhunub and great sin that the one who participates in them will fall into. And from those affairs and characteristics that Allah Azza wa Jal, His wrath and His anger and His la'na is upon them. And from those terrible sins and heinous crimes related to dealings and transactions is that which is connected, أيها الإخوة, to the great sin of Riba, the sin of usury and interest. For indeed Allah Azza wa Jal has prohibited that the believers enter into transactions that have in them usury and interest, because of what is present within it of sin and of dhulm and oppression. And on that basis we'll find that when you look at the writings of the people of knowledge, they will make mention of that which is prohibited in bay', that which is haram in buying and selling, and then they will author a chapter specific to riba because of the tremendous nature of the crime and because of the fact that there are numerous furu' and issues connected to this great sin. Allah Azza wa Jal made it haram, since it was from the forms of mu'amalat and dealings and transactions that the people of Jahiliyyah, they were involved in. And it caused, ikhwan, some of the greatest forms of oppressive situations. And we see to this very day how the dhulm that is present within riba has crippled not only individuals but nations economically, because of huge loans that were taken from the world banks and what have you, that have upon them these oppressive levels of riba, such that these nations are crippled economically and unable to repay. In Jahiliyyah, the affair was the same. In pre-Islam, the riba used to cripple individuals to the extent that because of their inability to pay, they would put themselves into bondage. They would put themselves into slavery to the one that they owed the debt to. Because it was amounting, and it was amounting, and it was amounting. And they knew they had no ability to pay. Dhulm, أيها الإخوة, that Allah Azza wa Jal prohibited. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تأكلوا الربا أضعافا مضاعفة واتقوا الله لعلكم ترحمون. Allah Azza wa Jal, لعلكم تفلحون. Allah Azza wa Jal mentions that you should, O ye who believe, refrain from riba. Leave alone riba. لا تأكلوا الربا. Don't consume it. And then Allah Azza wa Jal describes it as أضعافا مضاعفة. That consummation, يعني riba that was doubled and multiplied. And then Allah Azza wa Jal guides us to some of the hikam of leaving that. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ. In leaving it is the taqwa of Allah Azza wa Jal. لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. وَاتَّقُوا النَّارِ الَّتِي تُعِدَّتْ لِلْكَافِرِينَ. Then Allah Azza wa Jal continues, and fear the fire that was prepared for the kafirin. Because this leads to the fire. وَأَتِيُوا اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ. And obey Allah and His Messenger that perhaps you will receive mercy. Likewise, Allah Azza wa Jal has mentioned, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَذَرُوا مَا بَقِيَ مِنَ الرِّبَا. O ye who believe, fear Allah and leave alone what has remained of riba, what has remained of usury. If you truly are mu'mineen. And then Allah Azza wa Jal, He mentions, فَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا. But if you do not do so, يعني, if you desist, فَأْذَنُوا بِحَرْبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. Then be prepared with an announcement of war from Allah Azza wa Jal and His Messenger. Then Allah Azza wa Jal mentions, وَإِن تُبْتُمْ. But if you repent, فَلَكُمْ رُؤُوسُ أَمْوَالِكُمْ. رُؤُوسَ أَمْوَالِكُمْ. Then for you is your capital wealth. That which you put forward, you can keep that. The capital, not the interest, not the extra. لَا تَظْلِمُونَ وَلَا تُظْلَمُونَ. You will not wrong others, neither will you be wronged. And so again at the end of this verse we see some of the indications of the hikam and of the wisdoms behind the prohibition. That in it is dhulm. So you can take what you have given, you can take what you have spent. So that is how you are dealt with justly. You will not be wronged, neither will you wrong others. And so Allah Azza wa Jalla has prohibited, ayyuhal ikhwa, the affair of riba. Of course, the riba of jahiliyyah manifested in that they would give loans to individuals. And they would stipulate that upon late payment and upon delayed payment, then the loan will be increased by such and such amount. And then the time to pay would come, and they would have an inability to pay. And so the loan would then be increased. And then the period and the term deferred. The time would come again, and they would have an inability to pay. And so the loan would be increased and the term deferred. And so because of this delay and this deferment of the repayment, we had a constant increase of the debt, to the extent that the individual, when a period passed, the individual had no ability to pay the amount that it has now become. And so they would find themselves in this oppressive situation. This was the riba of jahiliyyah.